Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, Alias Tagay. Well, Trump had an amazing couple pressers today. He had one earlier, and it was so smoking hot, I had to wait for his plane to land. In another country, which is Scotland, to get the rest of this hot streak he was on. And he answers a whole lot of questions. Let's dive into this. We're in big trouble, people. Carney, oh my God. Obviously I'm still in shock that the Liberals got voted in again. But make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Because the media does what the media does. I'm going to show you what they're not. Like I'm telling you, this presser, these two pressers. Oh boy, Canada. Elbows up, head in the ground. Ankles up is more like it. Let's just dive in. This is, you can't make this stuff up, man. This is absolutely priceless.
Yeah, Gaza, they pulled out of Gaza. They pulled out in terms of negotiating. It was too bad. Hamas didn't really want to make a deal. I think they want to die. And it's very, very bad.
Are you done with
and it got to be to a point where you're gonna have to finish the job. They really they asked for things. Don't forget, we got a lot of hostages out. So now we're down to the final hostages, and they know what happens after you get the final hostages. And basically, because of that, they really didn't want to make a deal. I saw that. So they pulled out, and they're going to have to fight, and they're going to have to clean it up. You're going to have to get rid of it.
What are you hoping Todd Blanche gets out of his meetings with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Well, I don't know about the...
For bringing hostages home. What are the alternative methods to bring hostages home from Gaza?
Well, we got a lot of them out, and it's I've always said those last 10 or 20 are going to be the toughest, because Hamas knows what happens when they don't have any bargaining chips. And
he is throwing truth bombs, people. Truth bombs.
They really broke a deal. They broke a deal, and you're going to have to do what you have to do right now. It's a terrible thing.
What about on
And I always do that. I said, when you get down to the last one, they're not going to be able to make a deal.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if
They're on this Maxwell thing. I'm not when something comes of this, I'll probably end up reporting on it. I like staying focused on the Canadian news. I am the Canadian Citizen Journal. There's enough propaganda out there. I will, like I said, once there's some kind of finale stuff kind of going on, I will probably make points of it. But the media is doing what the media does. They're blowing this all out of proportion because there are real stories that they don't want the public to know. And down in the States, they got some big stories coming out. Obama, the Clintons. Like I said, I'll probably dabble on those in another episode, but I like staying focused on Canadian news. So that's what we're going to do.
President, what's your comment on ceasefire? Have you given up on a Gaza ceasefire?
Well, the Gaza situation, and I said this was going to happen, when you get down to your last 10 or 20, we got a lot of hostages out. We took them out in numbers that nobody believed, a lot of them. And I said, when you get down to 10 or 20, I don't think Hamas is going to make a deal, because that means they have no protection.
Truth bombs, people. And he's repeating this over and over. This is something that even I have been telling. And the Palestinian friends that I lost, who really opened my eyes to the reality of what was going on in Palestine, this is what they knew. They'll never give up what they can use to stay alive. Why would they do that? That's why this whole... I mean, any country who's giving Israel crap and then under their breath at the end of the sentence say, and free the hostages. Why don't you just focus on free the hostages? They're hostages. It's a terror lord organization. Why are you even negotiating with them? At what point in time did we lower our own humanity to deal with the lowest of the low? This is something he knows. Not our leaders. No. Warmongers. No. Keep listening. He is, like I said, he's smoking hot on this presser.
And basically that's what happened. Hamas didn't want to make a deal.
Have you seen that photo?
I think what's going to happen is they're going to be hunted down.
Have you seen that?
Secondary sanctions sooner on Russia. Are you closer today to secondary?
Now listen. This is our Prime Minister.
Is or discussed today and needs to be addressed is more stable and secure funding for the Inuit Child First program.
We'll do one last question.
Okay, thanks.
Just on Gaza.
Is there anyone else? Yeah.
Yep. Kevin, you're viewing?
Just on Gaza.
Is there anyone else? Yeah.
Yep. Kevin, you're viewing?
Just on
or discussed today and
What?
needs to be addressed is more stable and secure funding for the Inuit Child First program.
We'll do one last question.
Okay, thanks.
just on Gaza.
Is there anyone else? Yeah.
Yep. Kevin, you're viewing?
Yeah.
Carly?
He's a liberal. He's Trudeau 2.0. He can't control all the media, but he uses the media to help him control them. Why isn't the rest of the media saying, no, answer his question? He was up next. He answered he asked you a question. Why are you avoiding that question? Now, on previous episodes, I've shown what Benjamin Netanyahu thinks of not just the Liberal Party of Canada, but of this piece of crap. He despises him. A little bit further on.
To go back to the previous question, or the first question, all consistent with the environmental standards, and in Inuit Nunagat, consistent with those procedures outlined in the modern treaties.
Prime Minister, just really quickly on Gaza, you said that your government is prepared to take more.
Outlined in the modern treaties.
Prime Minister, just really quickly on Gaza, you said that your government is prepared to take more actions. What more actions are you prepared to take?
What more actions are you prepared to take? We'd all like to know. We're curious. I'm going to read you off his X. Canada condemns the Israeli government's failure to prevent the rapidly deteriorating humanitarian disaster in Gaza. This was posted July 24th. Israel's control of aid distribution must be replaced by comprehensive provision of humanitarian assistance led by international organizations. Many of these are holding significant Canadian-funded aid, which has been blocked from delivery to starving civilians. This denial of humanitarian aid is a violation of international law. Now, I'm going to straighten that out. Our humanitarian aid isn't humanitarian aid at all. We're funding Hamas. I've proven this. Previous episodes. They just gave another $300 million. They're saying, well, it's humanitarian aid. I've shown you in previous episodes. What Hamas does. They shoot anybody who tries to get it. Then they steal it. They take it, they hide it. They rebag it. They fill it full of ammunition. They have women and children carry those munitions to different places in order to get to hidden tunnels and buildings, usually churches, hospitals, schools. These people are evil. We're funding evil. Evil begets evil. Trump knows this. Anybody who really knows what's going on in Palestine, like myself, who lost two friends And my loss, they were just really close friends. They went to save their family, never to be seen of again, in Palestine. They said that whole place needs to be vacated, dozed. Then great big machines and x-rays and whatever technology possible to find every tunnel and implode everything and start fresh. That was their words. Trump's echoing that. Israel is echoing that. People who know what's going on are echoing that. They have embedded themselves so deep into Palestine. There can't be a Palestinian state until it's completely cleared. And every single Hamas, all of their supporters are held accountable. And I'm talking all the way up the food chain, because we know the UN is infiltrated. That's been proven. Again, previous episodes. I'm going to read on. Canada calls on all sides to negotiate an immediate ceasefire in good faith. We reiterate our calls for Hamas to immediately release all the hostages and for the Israeli government to respect the territorial integrity of the West Bank and Gaza. Canada supports a two-state solution with guarantees peace and security for Israelis and Palestinians. Canada will work intensively in all to further that end, including through the participation of the Minister of Foreign Affairs at the UN High-Level Conference on a two-state solution in New York next week. This is part of our trade deal. Trump will not stand idly by while the country next to him with the largest open border funds terror lords. He won't.
Counterproductive to France, for France to say that they would recognize the Palestinian state. Macron said that yesterday.
Look, he's a different kind of a guy. He's okay. He's a team player, pretty much. But here's the good news. What he says doesn't...
Did you catch that? He's a team player. He's on a streak in this presser. You got to be able to really pay attention, hear the whole thing and go, holy cow. He's dropping more truths and realities. And if anybody's worth their grain of salt, as a reporter or a journalist, or whatever you want to call yourself, this is what the people need to hear. Because it explains a lot. Because Macron and Carney are best buddies. They were the ones tweeting together, obligating together, when Netanyahu, and I think about 9, if I remember counting right, different people within the Trump administration, including Trump himself, called them all out and said, you guys are on the wrong side. You need to study history.
Doesn't matter. It's not going to change it.
It doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything.
So how could
Well, he made a statement, France, Macron. His statement doesn't carry any weight. He's a very good guy. I like him, but that statement doesn't carry weight.
So how close are you to a trade deal with the EU?
I would say that we have a 50-50 chance, maybe less than that, but a 50-50 chance of making a deal with the EU. And it'll be a deal where they have to buy down their tariffs, because they're right now at 30%. And they'll have to buy them down, maybe, or they could leave them the way they are. But they want to make a deal very badly. I would have said we have a 25% chance with Japan, and they kept coming back, and we made a deal, and the deal is, don't forget, Japan's putting up $550 billion. It's a lot of money. And also paying tariffs. The biggest part of the Japan deal, and maybe we get this with EU, maybe we don't, is that we have the right to go in and trade. We have the right. They've totally opened Japan just to the U.S. That's, to me, the biggest part of the deal.
What level tariff are you looking
Hear it?
for?
Disarmament. You said repeatedly you would like to see
Open
Trump.
up.
Wiggle room in steel and aluminum if they were to budge on digital services tax?
Say it.
Is there any wiggle room on steel and aluminum in exchange for any budge on digital services?
Not a lot, because if I do it for one, I have to do it for all.
Let me play that back for you.
Services tax?
Say it.
Is there any wiggle room on steel and aluminum in exchange for any budge on digital services?
Not a lot, because if I do it for one, I have to do it for all.
So why do you think Carney got rid of the digital services tax? For his own pocketbook. For him and his investors. He's a bloody banker. He's an investor. He don't care about you. Unless you're in his portfolio for a few million quid. If not, suck it up, princess. He don't care about you. The DST isn't going to change jack when it comes to the tariffs. Where's your mainstream media?
So on that, steel and aluminum, not allowed.
President, did you speak to Netanyahu about aid drops?
Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Mr. President, did you speak to Netanyahu about allowing aid drops in Gaza from Arab countries?
Yeah, I speak to him, but I can't tell you what I spoke to him about. But it was sort of disappointing.
Tariff Day is exactly 1 week from today, August the 1st. What do you expect between now and next Friday as it relates to your deadline?
When you say tariff, not Paris.
Tariff.
Tariff. I think you said Paris Day.
No,
I said.
Tariff Day.
Well, most of the deals are finished right now. They're finished because we're just going to charge a certain tariff. A lower tariff that I could get. I don't want to hurt countries. But we're going to send a letter out sometime during the week. And it's basically going to say you're going to pay 10%, you're going to pay 15%, you're going to pay maybe less. I don't know. But Australia was great. They opened up beef yesterday for the first time ever. And they did it. We didn't know about it. We asked them to do it, and all of a sudden we got a word that they wanted. So obviously they're looking to do something. But Australia. So
You need to like, share, and subscribe. We need tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands to write all of our MPs and tell them enough of the milk cartel. Not only is it costing us a fortune, not only is it completely destroying our economy, our ability to actually have competition, which with competition comes growth, comes jobs, comes more freedom, more independence, comes better quality, less waste. Australia just opened up their beef market. That was a closed system, people. That is a huge, huge step for Australia to take. I'm talking, that to Trump is what milk is to Trump in Canada. Mainstream media. Crickets.
August 1st is going to come, and we will have most of our deals finished, if not all. We haven't really had a lot of luck with Canada. I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariffs, not really a negotiation. We're working very diligently with Europe, the EU, which covers a lot of territory, a lot of countries. And that's the big one right now. We have the confines of a deal with China. But we haven't really, we don't have a deal with Canada. We haven't been focused on it.
When you send out those letters, Mr. President, when you send out those letters,
Hasn't been focused on it. Why? If they're not even going to come to the table with something worth negotiating, why focus on it? And what's our media saying? Oh, LeBlanc and they're all up there, and they're working and working hard, and no, they're not. don't care about you. The Liberals don't care. They don't care about Canada. They don't care. You're going to find out more here soon.
I believe that will bring some certainty to the financial markets because then they will know.
No, when those letters go out, they're a page and a half. That means they have a deal. It's done. They pay that tariff, and that is a contract essentially. And they can come into the country. They're going to pay a tariff. I'm going to keep it minimal. I'm going to keep it. I'm not looking to hurt countries. I could do that too, but I'm not looking to do that. But when that letter goes out, that's a deal. And we'll be sending maybe close to 200 of those letters out. Don't forget, we have a lot of countries. So we're going to be sending out almost 200 of those letters. But once those letters go out, there we have a deal. Now, we sent one to Japan, we sent one to EU, and they came back and negotiated a deal. I think EU has got a pretty good chance of making a deal.
With all of that revenue coming in, Mr. President.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Our country was a dead country. It was a dead country 1 year ago. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Doesn't matter what chart you look at, it's either 14 to 21% growth in GDP in the United States in the last 8 years. He's calling it a dead country. Canada's growth, 0.5%. We are beyond broken, people. You've seen what's going on in the States. I've shown you previous episodes. They are on a building free-for-all. They are now tied for being the largest energy supplier, and in the next 6 months will be the energy dominant superpower on Earth. And we have many times more than they do when it comes to natural resources. And where are we? 0.5% growth. What country's dead?
And don't you feel it?
Mr. President, with all of that revenue coming in tens and tens of billions of dollars, do you think there's the possibility of a rebate to the American public in terms of all of that money?
We're thinking about that, actually. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. That's a very good question.
Pay down debt. But
you just made a lot of news. We're thinking about a rebate because we have so much money coming in from tariffs that a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice.
Da, 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 da. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. More write-offs for first-time home owners. Your vehicles, write-off. All your fuel now, write-off. Cut down major costs for the insurance. Anybody who makes less than $66,000, and then he's got another tax bracket for $100,000, and then he did another tax bracket up to $150,000, and then he's got another one for joint people, couples, for $450,000. He is knocking taxes. He's beat taxes down to almost nothing. To the lowest income, and he has given complete birth to all these new industries, which are going to give jobs to all these kids that are going to school and can't find jobs because there are none. Oh, where does that sound familiar? Right. Now, like I said, he was smoking hot. I'm like, I can't wait for the plane to land. I want part of this next interview because today he is throwing the bombs.
Executives that we're meeting with. We're going to be meeting with a lot of people. A lot of people will be staying at Turnberry, and then we're going to Aberdeen, which is the oil capital of Europe, actually.
Mr. President, explain what is missing in the UK deal that you have to work out?
Nothing. We I think it's more of a celebration than a workout. It's a great deal for both, and we're going to have a meeting on other things other than the deal. The deal is concluded.
Where's your media? That's another one. Boom! By the time he landed his plane, that's another one. I'll be darned. Absolutely craziness.
An amazing job on illegal migration in America.
I have.
People here are very worried about the situation. Record numbers.
Well, I say two things to Europe. Stop the windmills. You're ruining your countries. I really mean it. It's so sad. You fly over and you see these windmills all over the place, ruining your beautiful fields and valleys and killing your birds. And if they're stuck in the ocean, ruining your oceans.
And in the meantime, we've got our goofball, sellout banker.
Well, you made a couple of stops today, one at the community center.
Yep.
I believe her name was Connie, greeted you with a sign saying, "We love you, Mark, but you scrap Bill C-5." Is that something you've been hearing a lot?
No, actually. It was nice of Connie to come out with a sign with a couple of people.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of that. Really? Huh.
This is a predetermined process. A process that is disrespectful, top-down, and divided Indigenous leaders by privileging some voices over others. This summit is a political theater.
Bill C-5 centralizes power in Ottawa. Lets cabinet override environmental laws and ignores treaty and inherent rights. That is not modernization. It is colonization in 2025.
This is a predetermined...
Huh. Not hearing anything, huh?
Well, 9 First Nations in Ontario have filed a court injunction against the federal government's bills to fast-track infrastructure projects. Bill 5 and Bill C-5 saying the laws violate their charter rights. The group argues that both laws are a clear and present danger to ways of life on their territories. The First Nations are asking...
Who's all those people? You're not hearing anything.
The court to prohibit both levels of government from using the legislation, while the governments say their laws are tools needed to counteract the effects of tariffs. Marianne Domain is trying...
Really? Is that what you got? Is that what you got out of what I just showed you with Trump? Huh.
That part of the story for us. Marianne, what more can you tell us about these injunctions and their concerns?
Yes, these injunctions were filed this week, and the leaders from these 9 First Nations communities in Ontario are concerned about both the federal Bill C-5 and the provincial Bill 5 that they say violate their charter rights of life, liberty, security, as well as equality. And you saw those images just a few moments ago, those protests outside of the buildings in Ottawa. They are holding...
And he doesn't see it. Oh. And the host of that's APTN. I watch APTN. I've watched it in the last 6-7 years. Well, 10 years ago it was already on the Liberal bandwagon, but pretty much every show of it, I'm embarrassed by it. They have become part of the propaganda machine. It's disgusting. The Indigenous don't even have their own network anymore. Who speaks? Who speaks for them? They're all bought and paid for. The interview that I've been clipping off of with Carney, that's an APTN. Like, are you kidding me?
Holding signs expressing their concerns about this bill, particularly the federal bill C-5, that essentially fast tracks infrastructure projects, all across the country. Now, looking at the federal bill C5 first, that essentially allows cabinet to quickly approve these national projects, things like pipelines and ports, if they are considered of national interest. The provincial bill 5 allows cabinet to suspend certain municipal and provincial laws to create these special economic zones. Now, these leaders have said they are not against development. What they are against are any projects, that could violate their rights, as I mentioned, the rights of their land. They want to make sure that they are protected, that there are the proper consultations, because the premiers and the federal government have both said that they would have consultations with these First Nations communities when it comes to the plans and the projects planned for their lands. But the leaders are saying this is a clear and present danger to the rights of their people, the rights of their land, and that's why they want this injunction. They want to make sure that the proper process is in place here. Now, talking about Premier Doug Ford, Ontario's
Okay.
What C5 does, and all it does at this stage is it makes things possible. The question is, what do we want to do? What do we want to do together? And we started, the first thing we did in the question of what do we want to do together is meeting with Indigenous leadership. I'm going to, as you know, I'm going to Inuvik later today, and we'll be meeting with all the leadership of Inuit Nunagat, the rights holders, modern treaty leadership, to talk about what's possible. What they want to do. And I think that's the important point. Sometimes you need to create the conditions, and that's what we've done, is to create.
Okay. There's nothing in there. It was written for natives. It was written to protect them. They were. I mean, every time that any of these liberals or the media pipes up about it, it's kind of, they're blowing it out of proportion. Bill C5. Oh, no. It's no. It's no. It's in there. It's law. They're in there. They're in there.
What's your reaction to what you heard? You were obviously listening to the entire speech as well.
Anger, disappointment, disgust. It isn't true, first of all, that it's built into the law.
I'm sorry. Kate Kempton, lawyer, representing 9 First Nation challenging Bill C5. I've read the bill. She's right. He's lying. APTN is allowing him to spew his crap. It's an absolute farce.
If the federal government and Prime Minister Carney really mean what they say, then they wouldn't put in these absolute power provisions in the law that provide cabinet unfettered and uncontrolled power. That's what's written in the law.
That's what's written.
The actual content of the law itself, which we have to go by, says that cabinet has unfettered, unrestricted power to approve national interest projects without needing to apply a whole bunch of other federal legislation to them. Legislation that would protect the environment, that would carry out assessments to understand what impacts might be to the environment and humans, so we know the kinds of decisions we're making and the implications and how to minimize or avoid them. That would waive the requirement for a number of permit applications to be applied for and conditions to be put on those. That's Section 22 of that Federal Building Canada Act. And Section 6 is a bias section that deems that all projects put forward are going to be approved. So it takes away the no alternative. And so, no, that it's a bunch of political propaganda. It's also very disappointing and maddening because the Crown governments think that they throw a bunch of money at something, which is really what he's saying, that First Nations should and are going to walk away satisfied.
Now, of the hundreds upon hundreds of billions of dollars that have been given to all of these different First Nations, why do they not have clean drinking water? Why do they not have roads? Why do they not have good schools? Why do they not have? Why do they not have? Why do they not have? Follow the money. Look at Ottawaska. They go on a bloody hunger strike. They catch her eating hamburgers. She's driving a Hummer. Her family is all part of and owns all of the implements that they're using and pay for to do the infrastructure while their roads fall apart, their water falls apart, the schools are falling apart. That's just one. I've seen this on so many First Nations. It's not the First Nations' fault. It's propaganda's fault. And it's a lot of the chiefs and councils who are lining their pockets and favoring certain members within their own families. This is where the whole hereditary chief thing comes in. I'm sorry. You are not born with a silver spoon. That's not what Canada's about. Well, I guess it is, because the king came and elbows up, or ankles up. Everybody was like seals. What makes him so special? Should have abolished him a long time ago. The states, sure, they got smart, and look at what happened to them. Freest nation on earth, one of the wealthiest nations on earth. Backbone of pretty much every civilization ends and starts within America, the United States. What are we? We have more power under our feet, in our trees, in the fields, than America could ever have. We're broke. Half of our income gone, ripped from us. What do we get? People dying in the waiting room. There was just a guy here not long ago. An article came out. The doctor literally, he was dying. He was having a heart attack. The guy went and puked a few times. Doctor told him, if you would have passed out, you would have been done. In the ER, waiting. Talking to a good friend of mine. Needs knee surgery. Oh. Well, why don't you get it fixed? Oh, well, you only get one. Welcome to Canada. So they wait until it's so bad that she has to have it done. And then what? Myself with my back. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't offer that surgery. Man, I could be, you could knock 10 years off my life. I'd be jumping through hoops. Nope. I gotta go to the States, to Sweden, any other country, pay it for it out of my pocket, and I have like a 0.0001% chance that the government will pay a fraction of that cost. So what, I gotta sell my house, I gotta sell everything and start right from scratch? If I could even sell everything and pay for it? Where's our money? Where's our taxes going? Canada's so broken. Now, I have to disagree with a lot of the things that this lawyer backs as well. She's absolutely right about the bill, and I agree with her 100%. Problem being, she should be saying, you got to scrap all of this other legislation, but she won't. Because the turd put all that stuff in because of the green agenda. And a lot of the indigenous nations are using it as a backstop, which is what Trudeau wanted. Divided, we fall. There is no equality in Canada. It's even worse now than it has ever been. We're in big trouble here. Big trouble. Back to Carney.
And one of the things we talked
APTN.
about was
What a
raised
shame.
by the Premier of BC and the Premier of Yukon, is how can they, and that what they want to do is connect the hydro grid, so the zero emission grid from BC into the Yukon, and in doing so, obviously it brings power to homes and
the zero. Did he say zero emission grid? Right. Who's invested in all that? Right. Previous episodes, people. I was dropping bombshells before it was cool. Green emission. Are you kidding me? Zero emissions. Green. Everything's green. Who's invested in the green? Who's got almost his whole portfolio invested in green technologies? With American companies, not Canadian. And who's invested in modular homes? Every single thing that this government ran on, this man's invested in. Why? Because for the last 10 years, they've driven us down that road. And you've got a bunch of people sitting at home with their heads shoved so far up propaganda, they fail to see they're being used. They're the reason this country is in free fall. Trump ain't done with us. He's not done with us. Oh boy.
Stop the windmills. And there's a couple of things I could say, but on immigration, you better get your act together. Or you're not going to have Europe anymore. You got to get your act together. And we, as you know, last month we had nobody entering our country. Nobody. Shut it down. And we took out a lot of bad people that got there with Biden. Biden was a total stiff. And what he allowed to happen, but you're allowing it to happen to your countries. And you got to stop this horrible invasion that's happening to Europe, many countries in Europe. Some people, some leaders have not let it happen. And they're not getting the proper credit they should. I could name them to you right now, but I'm not going to embarrass the other ones. But stop. This immigration is killing Europe. And the other thing, stop the windmills, killing the beauty of your countries. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow, I just got great news. Right in the middle of my podcast, my video cast. I just won a copyright dispute. I fight these so often. Mainstream, legacy. All I had to do is prove, which takes work, lots of homework, send in all of the necessary documentations proving you guys take money from the federal government. You're useless. I get to use you because I pay for you. Now, thank you very much. It's worth the fight, people. It's worth the fight. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hours and hours and hours go into making these, and then the disputes, and then and a lot of times I have to do some editing, and some of my videos got clips missing in them, and then I got to go back later, and I can't remove them and fix them, because if I do, I lose all the viewers on it, and then my count goes, and my algorithms drop. There's a lot to this. Propaganda is hammering us. If they pass this new censorship law, the one that I showed you on the last episode, the one with Michelle Rempel talking about it, you're going to see the death to a lot of independent media. Because these, we won't be able to dispute anymore. So, cheers. I'm going to have a rum right after I'm done this episode. That was great news. Now, back to where I was. You're okay.
And people there and clean power. But what it also does is it creates the possibility to develop critical mineral deposits, to diversify our economy, to give longer term jobs. And there's a series of projects that are linked in there. We're in the Northwest Territories. I'll give another example. Again, doesn't come from us. I'm going to hear about this, I'm sure, from the leaders of Inuit Nunagat tomorrow, which is Grays Bay Point. So this, for those who aren't familiar with it, is in Nunavut, Grays Bay. It is a potential new port, but the key thing about the port is it links and opens up opportunity in Nunavut, but as well in the Northwest Territories for economic development, for links and transportation corridor up into that. It creates the possibility that we build new relationships with Europeans, which provides some diversification from our exposure to the Americans. It's a very exciting project. Now, we will potentially support that, provided it has the full support of the Indigenous peoples all the way along the corridor. It seems to have a lot of support, but we've got to make sure that it's there, provided that we can see the broader economic benefits. We don't want to build a port and nothing flows through it, and that we get some private sector money to make sure that it's not just the Canadian taxpayer that's paying.
Coming out of that meeting, an MOU between Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, they want to see a pipeline from Alberta to Ontario. Manitoba didn't sign on to that.
I was going to say, last time I checked my,
Premier Wab Kinew saying, that we haven't consulted with Indigenous peoples about this.
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. I think that, this is an important point. And I tell you, Dennis, this is something that came up over and over in the election campaign. It's part of the reason why I'm careful about saying certain projects. Because Energy East is a name for a pipeline going across the country. It was a proposal of more than a decade ago. You're familiar with it. A number of people watching are familiar with it. And I get asked, are you going to support it? I'm like, well, it's not my decision. There's the provinces. There are the series of First Nations that would be affected by it.
Really? He's doing what Eby's doing. He was part of putting all of the 9 laws, the legislative bills through that Smith, Moe, and now, thank God, Dougie wants removed. He knows. He bloody well knows he stopped any of this from ever happening. What a waste of skin this guy is.
Pleasure. Listen, I want to begin with the memo of understanding that was announced this week between Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario for an energy infrastructure, a pipeline between your province and Ontario. What is the economic need of that if Ontario already gets oil and gas?
Well, I think part of what we've realized is just how exposed we are when you have an unpredictable neighbor in the United States. For years, the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, has been trying to shut down Line 5 pipeline. That is an essential lifeline to feed all of the refineries in Sarnia, and then also the line that goes up to Quebec. And so one of the things that I think this conversation has across the country has caused us all to realize is that we need a better way to support our provinces so that they're not fully dependent on the United States. And so there's a couple of different options that we could look at doing, and I'm glad that Premier Ford is interested in having that conversation with us.
Except that when the MOU was announced, again, you were there, Premier Moe was there of Saskatchewan, Premier Ford of Ontario, but Wab Kinew of Manitoba was not. Is that a problem that Manitoba was not a signatory to this MOU?
Well, I hope that Manitoba will be. What I respect about Premier Wab Kinew is that he's developing a bit of a different approach on Indigenous consultation. And so I'm watching how that unfolds with great interest, because that is going to be key. I think every single Premier at the table wants to make sure that there's Indigenous equity and an Indigenous partnership. We're all doing it in a slightly different way. We've got our Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation, so we underwrite an equity purchase. Others are doing it a little bit differently, and so I'm going to watch with great interest what happens in Manitoba, and I would hope that when the Premier gets a little bit further along, that we might be able to get him to sign on to the MOU as well.
Now, that said, during the news conference after the announcement, you and Premier Moe were very clear that the greatest economic benefit to this country would be a pipeline between Alberta and the BC Northern Coast. I did speak with Premier David Eby this week. He still remains unconvinced, says that he's not seen a serious proposal from a player step forward for him to consider. Is there a player willing to invest in this?
Well, I can tell you that
this is a real leader. This is somebody who understands business. This is what the dumb host, the sellout on APTN, should have pointed out. But no. APTN is now CBC Light. Or maybe that's dark because they're Indigenous. We're Indigenous. I don't know. How would that... I don't know.
The Premier Eby has been supportive of the dredging of the second Narrows so that we can have heavier ships able to go through that channel. The Trans Mountain Pipeline Group is interested in finding ways to optimize that line with compression and using agents that will allow for more product to go through, and we support those efforts, absolutely. But we have to be looking out what happens next, what happens 5 years from now, what happens 10 years from now. And I would say that if this is the window for us to get approvals in place so that we can be thinking about the next major export, this is the time for us to do it. I think we've got a moment nationally where there's an interest in doing it. We've got a prime minister who seems to want to reset our relationship with the provinces as well as internationally. And so I think this is the time. When we look at where our opportunity is for opening new markets, it's clearly Asia. It's Japan, it's South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, all of those nations that really do need to have a secure energy supplier. And so I'm supportive of Premier Eby wanting to get more LNG projects completed. I'm supportive of ammonia as well as a potential export. And we'll do some more work to see if we can win him over on the idea of a new bitumen pipeline. But we think that that's really going to be the project that's going to make the biggest difference for Alberta.
Do you think you can win him over? You've been in frequent conversation with the Premier.
I think the main thing, and again, I believe that Premier Eby and Premier Canoe both, it's just the different emphasis and sort of the timing of things. I mean, very clearly we have to have Indigenous buy-in and Indigenous partnership. And when you look at the previous proposal, I'll call it Northern Gateway 1.0, this would be Northern Gateway 2.0, it had 35 different Indigenous partners that would have been owners of that particular pipeline. And so I think that there is a way for us to recreate that kind of consensus. It's going to take some hard work, it's going to take some consultation, but I think that we can get there. And so if we can get the Indigenous participation, do the consultation, get a proponent who has the ability to construct that, I think it's going to be good.
It would also require a regulatory change, getting rid of the tanker ban along the BC northern coast, one of 9 regulations that you think Ottawa needs to repeal in order to truly revive a new national economy. You've had conversations with the Prime Minister. Is Mark Carney open to repealing the 9 regulations that you identify as...
Look at her hands. Look at her facial expressions. This is where she turns politician.
Areas of concern?
Well, I think one of the things people need to understand about how pipelines get built is that a company goes and finds all of the different producers that are willing to buy space on that line. If you're facing an emissions cap or you're facing regulations that say that you could potentially go to jail for greenwashing for talking about your emissions profile, or you have a tanker ban, there's going to be very few proponents willing to step forward to expand their production. And that's why it's a chicken and egg problem, is that, yeah, we could probably get a pipeline built, but we need to have proponents and oil companies who are going to expand their production to put something in it. So it's got to be a parallel track. I would like to work with the Prime Minister to try out his 2 years TS policy, to try out a new approach on Indigenous consultation and engagement and ownership, and then to work alongside of that to fix the 9 bad bills. So it's a staging issue. I'm hoping it happens sooner rather than later, but I'm in active conversation with the federal government to see how we might be able to come to some common understanding.
Encouraging conversations?
I feel like this Prime Minister understands the problem that Canada's in. We've had 10 years of economic decline. We're falling behind the OECD. We've got an inflation crisis, an affordability crisis. Kids can't buy homes. Kids are worried they're not going to be able to have jobs. You talk to families and they talk about their concern that their young kids are going to have to move to another country in order to have opportunity. We should all be seized with that. That's not a good reflection on where we find ourselves after 10 years of the prior government. So I think that he has a genuine interest in making Canada the strongest economy in the G7, and you have to be able to do that. You have to sell things that the world wants. The world wants our energy, they want our critical minerals, they want our food, they want our fiber, they want our manufactured goods. And so those are the things that we've got to figure out and how to get to market. And I'm just pleased that all of the premiers are working on MOUs and other arrangements to see if we can make that happen.
But you know...
That should be our Prime Minister. I'd settle for Poilievre any day. But she's so far ahead of every other politician in Canada. It's embarrassing. Now, to end the show, this is the LeDrew Show. He does these 3-minute interviews. I urge you, if you're a YouTuber, like, subscribe, and share. Of course, to me as well. This guy is an old liberal. An original liberal. Trudeau just completely destroyed the Liberal Party. Real liberals fled. Real smart liberals saw, recognized, studied, educated themselves, and walked away. The ones that are stuck on propaganda didn't. And a lot of the card holding, it didn't matter if they stuck a little 5-foot man in front in a brown suit with a little mustache that threw his hand in the air, would still vote Liberal card holder. Those are, you can't save them. These little 3-minute shorts, he interviews everybody. He's a good reporter, always has been. Like I said, I watched him for years. He's been in the business for decades. He's very bright. He asks the right questions. And he has a friendship with everybody because not only does he ask the questions, he's not afraid to ask. He's very good at conversing those tough questions to making them a comfortable stepping stone in an interview. He's combined all those years into these little 3-minute clips. I couldn't do this. I don't have the expertise to do this. Anyways, LeDrew, listen to this 3-minute. It's awesome.
Thank you for. I know you're really, really busy. There are people milling around everywhere in all these meetings. I'm really glad to see you.
Well, I love talking to you.
Let's just deal with the big issue.
Yeah.
I've known you a number of years. You've never seemed like a separatist to me. And some of the Eastern press, some liberal press is saying, you're trying to break up Canada. Tell me it's not true.
Well, it's not true.
See what I mean? He's brilliant. He's awesome. And he interviews everybody. He's great. He really is.
The liberal press, the Eastern press, often get these things wrong. I have, from the beginning of my time as premier, I've been trying to keep the country together. There were a number of different independence groups that were putting forward names on the ballot in the last election. I said,
Right.
Give me a chance to fix Canada. Give me a chance to get a new deal with Ottawa. And unfortunately, we weren't able to under the former Prime Minister, but I hope that we can under this Prime Minister.
You mentioned the former Prime Minister. What was it like being premier, I guess, for about 2.5 years with a Prime Minister who seems to be out to shaft your province?
It looks like it is a targeted attack. I mean, you have to remember, I'm a close reader of the Constitution. And the Constitution has division of powers.
Right.
We're supposed to be responsible for a number of things, and the feds are supposed to be responsible, importantly, for trade and commerce. And the reason for that was to assist the provinces in getting their products to market. It was never meant to have the federal government block provinces from being able to get their products to market. And
That's somebody who read and understands the Constitution. That's exactly what the job of the federal government is. The turd went full socialist, just like his daddy. Destroyed our nation with all of his minions. And now the general has taken charge and has come in to finish us off.
And that's what's happened for the last 10 years.
Absolutely. But, that student, the Prime Minister, didn't learn that lesson from you.
No.
So it must have been tough, though, to be leading a province, which is why some people are saying, well, you got to be tougher, you got to be more lenient. Either way,
Yeah.
when you have the federal government trying to interfere with your business.
And it's not hurt feelings. It's the fact that it has a real impact on people's lives.
Look at his facial expressions. LeDrew, you're awesome, man. This is what he does. This is what makes him such a great reporter. He's got all these years of experience. He is so at ease with himself. Openly, honestly, it literally, it's like this is a conversation going down when your neighbor comes over and you're discussing, something, a heated topic between close friends and neighbors type thing. He's awesome.
With the cancellation of the Northern Gateway, cancellation of Energy East, the cancellation of Keystone XL, which they didn't lift a finger to try to advocate for, we have lost 2.5 million barrels a day of oil production. That is worth $55 billion every single year to our province. That is a huge amount. It's a huge amount of GDP. And remember, governments get about 40% of all revenues that are generated, and that's not just for us, it's also for the federal government. This would go to help fund healthcare, education, infrastructure, other social programs. It has a big impact on people's lives. That's why we're wanting to get a reversal of those terrible policies.
So you're the premier first, but you're not out there to separate. I mean, clear.
I'm out there to have the same kind of relationship with Canada that I observe that Quebec does. Quebec, as they became more and more capable, they started taking on more and more authority over the areas that they're entitled to under the Constitution. I think smaller provinces sometimes defer to the federal government because those programs are expensive to run.
Yep.
We're a 5 million person province now. We have a substantial amount of revenues. We're the third largest economy. We have the ability to take over things like our own police service, our own pension, our own immigration system. And those are the things that we're consulting on right now. Should we be more like Quebec? And does that give us a little bit more clout in negotiating with the federal government if we can be more, if we can stand on our own on some of those major programs?
To those of you who have...
Now, like I said, make sure if you like him, I like him. I think he's worth the follow, like worth the subscribe. I mean, punch that subscription button. It means so much to independent media. It really does. Like I said, it not only helps us grow our channel, but it makes sure that you guys don't miss any of our future episodes. It's crucial. And now I know this guy's been in the business for a long time, so I don't know how he's doing money wise or whatever, but you know, of course he always asks for support and donations as well. I know exactly what it's like. Like, it takes it takes all day to do what I was doing. When I was doing the 2 episodes, I was getting on average 2 to 3 hours sleep a night. And then during the weekends, I would try to binge sleep to try and catch up. And it just, and now, you know, it's to the point where I didn't quite make what I was hoping on making. I put in record time. I you know, obviously I was trying to get a little bit more than I could chew. But with your help, sharing, liking, and subscribing, it gives us the ability to not only give you guys better information, but once a person can actually make some money, we can concentrate more on our channels, which is to give you the truth. So sorry, just the truth, just the facts. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I got a really busy weekend. I will try to get 1, maybe 2 episodes in on this weekend. I've got a lot on my plate. And like I said, I don't make money. I don't have enough subscribers or viewers. With your help, we could change that. And then, like I said, I won't have to worry about other work in order to pay the bills and keep the power on and pay for everything it takes. And again, it takes a lot. I had to upgrade satellite. I had to upgrade all the computer gear. I've got to pay for many different subscriptions to get you guys the information. Well, to get me the information to be able to give it to you. There is a lot of money and a lot of time. So I know, sounds like I'm groveling, but I need all the help I can get. And you can donate, or you can just buy the graft, buy the clothing. And thank God it's finally starting to sell. People are catching on and realizing how good the quality is. And I put a pile of time into the digital equipment, again, software I had to pay for, to be able to make good quality decals, shirts that won't wear out. You won't have them shrunk and your poodle wearing them in a year. They're gonna last a long time. Good quality. Anyways, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Guys, have yourself a great weekend. Supposed to be some amazing weather all week. We had a wicked storm roll through here. We got a few more, they're saying, all weekend. A lot of little tornado warnings here and there, so y'all stay safe. If you're traveling, keep the rubber on the road, shiny side up, like my father-in-law used to always say. You take care, everybody. I'm Alias Tagay. You've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. Stay informed.